Right now, though, we turn to Latvia. Now, this is a country you do not hear much about, but its recent history is actually very similar to that of so many European nations we've been talking about for years now. The difference is Latvia is recovering very well indeed. Latvia was actually an example of how the European Union was supposed to work, and it did rise really swiftly. It also fell hard, though. Have a look at these numbers. After joining the EU in 2004, Latvia's economy grew at the fastest rate in Europe, averaging 11% from 2005 to 2007. Real estate prices, they grew 240% during the bubble. It contributed to a current account deficit of 22% of GDP. Credit was easy, life was good. Until 2008, when everything stopped. The credit dried up, the export markets collapsed, the IMF and the EU stepped in and bailed out the nation to the tune of €8 billion, around $10.5 billion. Some of the harshest austerity measures in Europe followed. GDP shrank 18% in 2009. Unemployment rose to 21%. It was a nasty, nasty story. But Latvia is coming back now. And I had the chance to chat to the country's Minister of Economy, pavluts, to find out what the country had learned from their rapid rise and fall.
Well, certainly the crisis was quite hard on us. It was not just the financial crisis that hit the rest of the world. It was actually homegrown crisis, which was a full-blown real estate bubble and a consumption-driven economy, which grew very fast. Actually, was the fastest-growing economy in the European Union for a couple of years in 2006-07, and then we really crashed into a wall with a sudden credit stop. And the previous model basically fell apart.
So it was a private sector story rather than the public debt which we're seeing elsewhere?
Absolutely. We have had no sovereign debt crisis whatsoever. It was really private sector debt which basically became unsustainable in terms of what the structure of the economy was.
Unemployment was huge, austerity measures were harsh, and
exactly.
Yet we didn't see the public turn as badly as they did in, for example, Greece. I think Greece is the example we always look at. What was different there? If the austerity measures were that harsh, how did the people cope with it?
Well, I think one of the reasons was that, first of all, we are a post-Soviet society, in the sense that we have gone within the existing generation even. We have a living memory of very harsh times. Believe me, 1995, when we were going down after Soviet Union collapsed, before we began picking up again, that was also very, very difficult as we were introducing market economy. So this crisis was not the first in a lifetime for most of our citizens. The policy response, in a sense, was that we, as opposed to some other countries, decided to front-load the fiscal austerity measures. So basically, the main fiscal adjustments for many percent of GDP were actually done in the first 2 years of the crisis, rather than postponing them for later.
Okay, so how did the recovery come about? Has there been a key to Latvia climbing out of that crisis?
Last year, we just had new data, 5.5% growth last year, and fastest growth in Europe in the last quarter, 5.7%. So we expect to be growing the fastest in the first 2 quarters of this year as well. Now, how did that come about? Really, it is an adjustment, both fiscal adjustment that the government made, but also the private sector adjustment. What has happened is that we have been able to change substantially the structure of our economy, only in a way that a small, open, very agile economy can do. So basically, from internal consumption, non-tradable sectors, we are now switching to a larger share of tradable export sectors. Manufacturing is back on the wave. Our exports have been growing for 2 years in a row, roughly about 30% year on year. Same applies to industrial output. So now we are back to the model of export-led growth.
And what does Latvia export? Again, this is, I'm sorry to be naive here, but we don't hear much about your country. What do you offer to the world?
Now, our country is very rich in wood, first of all. It's one of the richest in that sense in Europe. It's one of the greenest countries in the world. I think in a recent assessment of some sort, Latvia came out second in the world in terms of being the greenest countries. Half of our territory is high-quality wood, pine, spruce. We have lots of agricultural land, and we have actually inherited quite a lot of industry, which has over time now adapted to new environment. So what we export is basically wood products, more advanced wood products, like plywood, furniture, wooden constructions, houses that can be made out of prefabricated houses, basically. Just an example. We have machinery metalworks. We are actually growing very well in food production based on our agricultural output. We are actually quite active as a finance sector. Tourism is growing. And,
but where's your market? Because you've got Europe on well, you're in the European Union, you've got the whole of Europe on your doorstep, but Europe isn't doing much buying at the moment.
Well, actually, it's not that bad. It depends who you trade with. Essentially, 70% of our exports is the European Union. That's obvious because we are sandwiched between EU, European Union on one side, and CIS countries, Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Kazakhstan on the other side. So we have traditionally been a hub, a marketplace for those two sides. So, and that continues to be so. Transit logistics is very big in our country. We have big ports, non-freezing ports, which turn around about the same amount of cargo as, for example, United Arab Emirates, or actually a little bit more. So in that sense, that's the marketplace. Now, 70%, as I said, is EU. Much of the rest is CIS countries. But now our companies are looking for new markets, which is exactly why, as a part of official delegation led by Prime Minister, we're here in the Gulf states to open doors for our businesses in various sectors, both industry and manufacturing sectors and services.
You are in the European Union, you are pegged to the euro. Is there any thought about taking that next step and joining the Eurozone?
Oh, absolutely. That's our big objective, actually. That's
even with the state that things are in now?
You know, there are benefits of being part of the Eurozone. You could actually say that by being pegged to euro for many years now, we have all the downsides of being fixed to euro without the benefits of being in the Eurozone, meaning the additional safety of having the same currency, of having ECB at your beck and call, and etc.
Yeah, but look at the difference. And you and, say, Spain, for example, had similar problems, similar levels of unemployment, and yet it was Spain which got hit very hard and more publicly, if you like, because of that fear of contagion, that constant fear that with the shared currency it moves around a lot faster. You were, I'm not going to say you were insulated from it, but you didn't have to worry about that so much.
We had different worries. Our worry in our economy was devaluation. I mean, actually financial markets expected us to devalue, so basically break the peg to the euro. And there was a fear, actually, by international bodies, I would imagine, that there would be certain contagion in that region with regards to those other small currencies which are pegged to euro one way or another, and that this would actually cause devaluation massively in the region. So Latvia was important in that sense that that had to be stopped. And we asked IMF for help and additional finance and a loan program. And we are one of those few countries that can say that we concluded it. It happened at the end of last year, around Christmas time, and both IMF and ourselves say that it's been closed successfully.
Good for you, good for Latvia as well. Minister, thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.